We are going to begin with President Biden speaking moments ago, championing the infrastructure deal that he's made with a bipartisan group of senators as an accomplishment of bipartisanship. It's not law yet, it's not soup yet, but he has done something we haven't seen in a while, which is get a bunch of Republican and Democratic senators to agree on something. He said, quote, after months of careful negotiation, of listening, of compromising together, and in good faith moving together with ups and downs and some blips, a bipartisan group of senators got together and they forged an agreement to move forward on the key priorities of the American Jobs Plan. And that is his name for this infrastructure deal that he's got. And it seems as if it does have some momentum, although he stepped on it a little bit when he announced that deal by saying that he also wants the other part of his major plan, which is what he calls human infrastructure. That's the child care, that's all kinds of other things that Republicans won't support. He says he won't sign one unless he gets the other to his desk. He had to walk that back. Bit complicated how the sausage is made, but let's go to White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks, who joins us now for more. Mary Alice, so I tried to explain it there, but it's pretty complicated. And he's out there, like presidents do, trying to sell it out in La Crosse there. So what did you glean from Biden's remarks? And is this thing on track, or did he step on it too hard?
Well, Terry, that was a very Biden speech. I mean, he had several minutes to just talk about his love of riding the trains. I mean, he gets passionate and excited talking about infrastructure, and that's the point. He wants to be out there around the country talking about how this is a popular plan and reminding Republicans that it's a popular plan. And he's not wrong. We know that the majority of Americans support the things in these proposals. And so the White House is trying to play the politics right now, like you said, walk this very fine line, keep enough Republicans on board to get 60 votes in the Senate, keep enough progressives on board by promising other coming legislation to make sure they don't reject it. But this tour, these kinds of speeches out in the country is kind of macro politics, is saying, we'll figure out the rest in Washington. Let's go back to the basics and remember that people want this stuff.
It's really a throwback to Biden presidency, for better or worse, whatever you think of it. I want to talk about that in a minute. But first, this thing that happened, he announced his bipartisan deal with 10 bipartisan senators, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans. That hasn't happened in a while. And then he said, well, I like this deal, but I want the other deal as well for that, quote unquote, human infrastructure, and I'm not going to sign one with the other. And then he had to walk that back. So, what's happened here? Did he really flub this up, and has he damaged the chances for this big infrastructure bill?
Nothing that he said was really new. Democrats for weeks have been saying that this was their plan. They were trying to strike a bipartisan deal on traditional infrastructure, and they were also going to use that special budget reconciliation process that lets them move spending and taxes with just 50 votes, with just Democrats. They were going to try to do that as well and kind of pick up what was left on the cutting room floor and package that in a budget bill. They had been saying that on Capitol Hill, but he messied up the politics by, as one of my producers said, I thought she said it really well, he said the quiet part out loud. He said the part that was sort of the behind-the-scenes politicking part that I think everyone on Capitol Hill was aware of, but by saying it, by being very Joe Biden and just telling everyone this was their plan, he made the politics much trickier for Republicans, because now Republicans, if they want to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure part, they know Democrats are still planning on their own to pass a bill with everything else. And so I think he's trying to sort of clean up the politics. He's trying to say that one bill isn't contingent on the other. But the reality is progressives in his own party want both bills to happen at the same time. I mean, they were very clear over the weekend. Elizabeth Warren, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, very clear that they are not interested in just passing an infrastructure package if that means things like child care, paid family leave, universal pre-K just get left behind. They want these two bills to happen together. And so we're going to see the president continue to walk this tightrope for the next few weeks.
And every vote in the Congress right now, given how slim the majorities are. Everybody's got a bit of power and can exercise it, as we're seeing. I want to get back to this sense I have of a throwback presidency. Look, these quiet conversations that he has with people like Shelley Moore Capito, a Republican of West Virginia, that didn't go anywhere, but there he was kind of talking. And then these bipartisan senators kind of come in and they talk to him. And here he is, this incremental progress towards what might be a bill at the end of the day. We're used to seeing these sharp clashes between the parties. If you got the vote, you throttle the other side. If you don't, the game's over. Something else is happening in the Biden presidency. Do you get that sense? And is it possible that in this sharply partisan time, he can succeed going that way?
Can people be hopeful here in Washington? We're not used to that. You know, he walked out of the White House with those senators, and there was literal backslapping. He wanted to project the idea that Washington was coming together to get things done again. Now, as we were just talking about, it's very different to project that idea than to actually sign a bill into law. But for so much of this negotiating process, just like you said, it was about both the final product as well as the process. He wanted to show that they could do things, and if they could do this, then what else could they do? What could they do next? What would it feel like in Washington to have two sides starting to work together again? You know, there's a lot of historians that talk about it might be that members of Congress like what that feels like, that actually voters reward success. And we've just for so long gotten used to nothing getting done across the aisle, that we've almost forgotten what that could feel like and what it might seem like for voters to reward that behavior.
And that is in some ways the whole thesis, in some ways, of the Biden presidency, that, as he said at the end of these remarks today, when the American democracy comes through, people feel it, and it will calm the country down. That's his bet, anyway. So President Biden next scheduled to visit the site of that deadly tower collapse, the condo tower collapse in Surfside, Florida, on Thursday. What can we expect to see from that?
You know, I think that he's going to go down there and try to be a consoler, try to be a comforter. He is remarkably good at that. You know, this is an elected leader who is personal about his own grief, who often talks about his experience with loss. I have seen him on the campaign trail hold the hands of people who've lost loved ones, look them in the eye, and make them feel like he hears their pain. I think that he's itching to go deliver a message of healing and hope, because he thinks he has something to relate to them with, and he has something to give and offer. He likes being there for people, and he likes talking openly about his faith, about the grieving process. You know, I think that he's one that says you have to kind of be willing to be vulnerable and be out there with people. You know, I think that two more political components that are going to be tricky for him on this trip is whether he gets questions about infrastructure. We're talking about a building collapse, and about climate change. We're talking about Miami. And I think he's going to have to find the right balance where this trip is really about the families and those that might have lost their lives and the tragedy. And he's going to have to find that balance between getting some of those political questions, more policy questions, later down the road.
Absolutely. Mary Alice Parks, thanks as always.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.